Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to look at something called AI workflows. Today, in the field of AI, you have a lot of terms being thrown around like AI application, agents, etc. And you may have also heard of AI workflows. So here we'll try to explore them, try to get more clarity on them. So hopefully they kind of make sense. So to start off, let's define sort of a core component of modern AI systems, which is a large language model. So, large language models, you can think of them as machines that have been trained on large amounts of text data. So, this could be like imagine all of Wikipedia, then all of Reddit, and I don't know, maybe a bit of Twitter, etc. So imagine you take all of that, and we have this large language model which is able to learn all of that. And by learn, I mean recognize patterns. So once that training is done, so once an LLM is trained, which basically means it learns all of that, it is able to answer questions from that data. So if you ask it, so for example, it was trained on Wikipedia. So if you ask it like, who invented the light bulb? I don't know. Depending on where it got its information from, it might say Thomas Edison, or it might say Nikola Tesla. Yeah. Um, yeah. So that's like the core element, large language models. Then, if you want to go beyond LLMs and sort of take the next step, we come to this category of applications called AI applications. So this is basically like ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. So it builds on top of the LLMs by basically adding stuff like web search, for example. So nowadays, when you search on ChatGPT, it searches on the web in real time, and it also usually provides sources for its output. And you might do like have like PDF parsers, for example. So where it gives you the ability to upload PDFs and work on that and so on. So LLMs. So basically, if you have LLMs plus features like this, then you kind of get modern AI applications like ChatGPT. Now, the word AI applications, it's kind of subjective. So whenever I use the word AI application, I basically mean ChatGPT. So that's like an easy way to understand it. Now coming to AI workflows, we can kind of think of them as workflows where one or more steps involve invoking an LLM. So let's say you have standard business processes like, for example, classifying support tickets or whatever. Like, for example, classifying support tickets. And like you have a clear process of what is happening. Like the ticket comes in, you classify it, send it to the correct department, and then the correct department addresses the ticket according to their approach and so on. So the entire process is predefined. So that's key over here. So like the process is predefined. But for one or more steps, it would be very useful to apply an LLM. So if you create such a process or such a workflow, then that would be called an AI workflow. Let's look at a concrete example, customer email support. So let's say if you're running a company where customers can send emails with any problems they have. So typically what happens is customer emails land in an inbox, then someone reads the email and categorizes it based on what the problem is. So if it is about billing, then it'll give it to the billing department. If it is about refunds, it'll give it to some other department. Or if it is general customer query, it might give it to a different department, and so on. So that is done, and then the department handles the customer's problem and replies to the email accordingly. So this entire thing is a business process. So now let's try to look at how LLMs can be applied to specific steps in this process. So let's say this is the business process. The email lands in your inbox, then it is categorized and a ticket is created. Then the ticket is routed to the specific department to handle the customer query. Then the ticket is resolved according to whatever the department's process is. Then the reply to the customer is drafted and it is sent back to the customer. So, what steps can we apply LLMs? So, email landing in inbox, not really. Categorizing and creating a ticket. So, here we can apply LLMs. So, we can for use LLM to analyze the customer email and create a ticket accordingly and send it to a specific department. Routing to department, you don't exactly need LLMs because once you know which department it should go to, you can just send it there. You don't need an LLM to think about. There's nothing to think there. You just send it there. Then resolving the ticket also, you typically would not need LLM, so that would be the team's work on resolving the ticket. Drafting a reply, you can use an LLM because like LLM is good in at generating text, and a lot of us probably use ChatGPT to maybe draft emails or draft essays or try to get an initial draft out. So that LLM would be useful there. And then sending a reply, just sending a reply. You don't need an LLM there. So in this entire process, this step and this step would use AI, I guess. So if we re-implement this entire workflow with using an LLM here and here, that could be called an AI workflow. And yeah, that's kind of what AI workflows in a nutshell are. So let's look at another example. Let's say you are an e-commerce company, you are adding a new product. So you have a new product you want to add. So what you do is you create a description for that product, and then so you would tell someone in the company to create a description, a nice one, so that they can put it on the website. And before publishing it, though, you have to check if all the brand guidelines are followed, and that would be a different person doing that. So, and there is typically back and forth between these two. So, yeah, there's back and forth between these two to until they get the correct description that is following all the brand guidelines. And once everything is good to go, then they publish the product description. So if you want to turn this process into an AI workflow, you could use an LLM here to create a description based on product information. And you could also use an LLM here, which is to check if all the rules of the company are is being followed in that particular description. And typically those would be separate LLMs. So what I'll do is I will change this to a different color. So I'll use maybe uh, maroon here or whatever I what color that is, let me know. So yeah, so typically those would be different LLM calls with different system prompts because they do different things. And this would be an AI workflow. So you have a clearly defined process where a new product is being added and a description is created, and then you check if the guidelines are followed, and you go back and forth here. And once that back and forth is done and the description is good, then you publish the product. And in this clearly defined workflow, we use LLMs in one or two steps. So yeah, that is another example of an AI workflow. So something I kept repeating throughout was predefined steps. So typically in AI workflows, you have predefined steps and use LLMs around those steps. But let's say if you want to take it further, where even the steps or the process should also be determined by the LLM or by the LLM. So, for example, you can write a query like, okay, I want to handle customer queries. Give me a process to do it. So, like, if you type that into an LLM, it will probably give you a step-by-step process. So that means LLMs have the ability to generate their own steps. So with this extra ability where the LLM, like you create such a system that even the steps that are generated is by an LLM, then you're getting closer to AI agents. So in agents, usually when the steps are not predefined, it is determined on the fly by the agent. So yeah, that's one difference between AI workflows and AI agents. So other question we should answer is okay, when to use AI workflows and when to use AI agents. So typically the steps that you need to know, like in the process, is known in advance. So like you have step one, step two, step three clearly defined, and you would use AI workflows. Versus if you don't have a clear sequence of steps where, okay, sometimes we do a certain process, sometimes a different process, and typically that is determined based on the situation, then you would probably use AI agents. Second one, AI workflows are much more easier to monitor because you have a clearly defined set of steps. So if anything goes wrong, you can more easily point out where it went wrong. So in that way, AI workflows are better in that they can be monitored more easily. And in AI agents, that's harder to do because even if the steps are determined like on the spot, and the agent itself decides to make a decision, and then based on that makes another decision, and so on, it goes in a spiral. Then it's harder to pinpoint where the things went wrong if they do. So yeah, that's another difference. The last one, AI steps. Typically, like in AI workflows, the AI steps involve judgment more than exploration. So back to our customer ticket example, you already know that, okay, this is a ticket and you have to judge whether to route it to the billing department or the customer service department or the finance department, for example. So that part is like, so all you have to do is the kind of judge between those. It's more clearly defined. So AI workflows work better if steps are defined that way. Versus in AI agents, the if like your task is more exploratory. So, for example, if you're researching about a particular topic, so typically the next step that you do, it will be it is dependent on the results of your previous steps. So, if your overall goal is more like that, where okay, the path you take depends on the results of the previous steps, then using an AI agent in that case would be more useful. So yeah, so that was a bit about AI workflows. I hope that was helpful, and I will see you next time. Thank you.